Hajime! Welcome back to Comic-Jutsu. JT McRoberts here with you. Today we're going to bring you another episode of Rarities, as I show you a little glimpse of my collection of Treasury Editions of comic books. Here you can see Marvel Treasury Edition number 2, which I featured in my superhero spotlight of Namor recently. And you can see that someone has signed inside, and to me it looks like they tried to fake Stan Lee's signature, but you have Stan's signature down here. But I don't know if somebody out there recognizes these signatures, if these belong to anybody. I'd like to know. I recall buying this at Heroes Con in Charlotte for a relatively low price. It was maybe between $5 to $10 at the time, something like that. I mean, it wasn't a steal, and I mean, they're not in mint condition, but these are great readers copies. And I'm just such a fan of these Treasury Editions. You know, when I was a little guy growing up and drawing in my room and reading comic books and visiting my friends and reading their comic books, I had a buddy who had several of these Treasury Editions, and that's where I got to read them. And he had them because his brother had bought most of them, and when his brother left and went away to school, he gave him all of his Treasury Editions, and I read them. Sadly, he kept every one of those. He never let me have any of them. That was part of his collection he did not want to part with, my buddy. But yeah, shout out to Jay out there if you run across this anyway. But yeah, so let's just have a little look at some of these Treasury Editions. A lot of fun. I think bigger works better for comic books. Of course, it's probably not cost effective to do this on a regular basis, which is why they don't. An oddity that I have here is I believe I got this for absolutely free. It's got Stanley Technical Institute stamped on it, okay, but I believe I got this at a bookstore in Charlotte, and it was like on their rack of free stuff outside, and it was just torn to bits. I mean, it was like this when I got it, which is my guess as to why it was free. But it's a collection of Little Nemo stories, and to me that's pretty cool, because these are some really old examples of sequential illustration and the great storytelling. And it was pretty interesting to me to read some of these. I mean, the stories are not great, or maybe not even good. It's just the artwork was fantastic. The way he moved through the panels, across the page, it was perfectly dreamlike. And then the creations, the way they take advantage of the various panels, so amazing. 1905 is what that says. October 29th, 1905, November 5th, 1905. So this is not a Marvel Treasury Edition, but you know, it's a Treasury sized edition. And you can see once you get beyond this initial, it must have been eaten by rats or something. That's what this looks like. Once you get beyond that, the rest of the book is in pretty darn good shape. Just love the muted use of color. Vibrant color when it's needed. Black and white sometimes. I mean, just the constant changing of the medium. And here, look at these just imaginative creations. This dragon thing. It's just fantastic. It's absolute fairy tale. You know, it's Wonderland, it's Slumberland right there on the page. Come to life. Dreams come to life. So, anyway. Marvel Treasury Edition number 3. Now, we're not going to do flip throughs of all of these. I'm just showing off my collection here, you know, and just sharing my love for these. This is another one I got at the same time as a couple of those Fantastic Four Treasury Editions. You know, got them at Heroes Convention. The vendor was selling them cheap. I bought them. You know, so yeah, I'm thinking that some of these were like $5, which is why I walked away with like 4 or 5 of them at a time. I was like, yeah, kind of extra 25, $30 that I'll drop on some Marvel Treasury Editions. I mean, especially nowadays, these are worth a good bit more. It's hard to get them that cheap. And man, bigger is so much better with Jack Kirby's artwork. I mean, his Thor stuff was just made. It was made for this format, with this format in mind. Even with the dodgy Vince Coletta inking on here, you know, these figures still just leap off the page, and you know, the power comes off the page. Look at this Hercules lifting this tree. But anyway, it'll take me forever if I go through all these page by page. Whom the gods would destroy, they must first drive mad, is the rest of that quote. But look at this. The great Odin. Could flip through all these non-stop. Now here's one I got recently. I was reminded of this collection. I came across a video by cartoonist Kayfabe where they actually broke down the Red Nails storyline in this. So I definitely recommend checking out their video for it. And I was able to get a copy of this at a decent price. Here you see the great Barry Windsor Smith artwork. Just absolutely fantastic Treasury Edition. Mine is a little banged up here and here, but beyond that, it's in really great condition. And this is really Barry Windsor Smith becoming Barry Windsor Smith. You can still see a little bit of the strangeness in the inking of Conan's eyes there, but some of the elegance of the figure is starting to show itself. The positioning of the figures in the frame, their representation in space, the body language and expressions, all that pure Barry Windsor Smith is really starting to shine through here. But anyway, recommend checking out those guys' video on that. Absolutely fantastic collection. And look at this thing. Almost Sin City-esque if it was in black and white. Black clouds, white rain, the pile of bodies. I've actually got one of those metal wall hangers with this image reproduced on it in my studio. Doctor Strange, another one I got at the convention. Yeah, it was a really good score when I made off with those that day. Here it lists all the stories that they have. The end at last. The origin of the Ancient One. The end of the Ancient One. Oh, on Superhero Spotlight, we talk about characters being retconned out of existence. There's one. The Ancient One. Gone. Wiped out. Victim of the MCU. I hate how the MCU has this ripple effect on the comics, and they're rippling back into the comics and changing the comics' histories. But thankfully, we still have our collections. These books still exist. They're still out there. You can read them on Marvel Unlimited or whatever it's called online, that sort of stuff. So I definitely recommend any and all of these. Now, instead of Barry Windsor Smith or Jack Kirby, here we see the great Steve Ditko, the other original pillar of the foundation of Marvel. The guy who, laid his share of the foundation there at Marvel during those early days, with the pure imagination of his Doctor Strange stories, his Spider-Man stories. Here you have the great figure of Eternity making an appearance. It's all just unbelievable stuff. Now we switch artists here later in the book. A few different great artists. There I recognize some Gene Colan popping in. The Cult and the Curse. Again, I can't flip through every single page of these things. We've just got to kind of do a quick flip through. And there you see the covers of the stories that are covered in this. There we see the almighty retconned and missing Ancient One now. So that never happened. Great Gene Colan piece there on the back. The impressive Dormammu. I've come to bargain. Fantastic Four make another appearance here in the Treasury Editions. Number 11. In battle with their most fearsome foes. Who could it be? Of course it would be Doctor Doom. Also, the Submariner, the Frightful Four. And then this man, this monster. So, this guy that had this one-time appearance where he stole Ben Grimm's Thing body. He's one of their most fearsome foes. That's funny. Yeah, but anyway. More of the greatness of Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four. That original 100+ issue run is a masterclass on superhero storytelling in the modern age. And using the medium of sequential illustration, as it's called by, as it was named by Will Eisner. I mean, it sounds goofy and pretentious or whatever, but I just like to say it. I mean, let's give it's its own art form. You know, we need to recognize that there's a different flow between the panels. You know, once you introduce that gutter and give the power of time to the reader, you have a completely different tempo here in comic book than what one sees in any other medium. Because in film, they just continue barreling forward. Everyone experiences it at the same time. But in comics, you can give that power to the reader. Like, they can spend some time just on this panel. Help! Watching Doom as he floats helplessly through space. But again, just fantastic storytelling from the almighty Jack Kirby. Gotta love it. Might take a look at this on an upcoming superhero spotlight. That may be a spoiler. The special collector's issue, Marvel Treasury Edition, The Defenders against the mightiest menaces of all time. Their stand, The Defenders. That's a mouthful. Wow. I bet Roy Thomas is responsible for that. But anyway, in a good way. I mean, I don't have anything against Roy. I mean, he was... We gave him props on the recent Comic Book Dojo episode and said his editorial run was underrated. I mean, he moved things forward in ways that aren't talked about too much nowadays. Anyway, Day of the Defenders, the new Defender for sale, one planet, slightly used, pinup gallery. All just fantastic, fantastic stuff. Amazing work. There's a great special bonus pinup. Now this actually dates this because Moon Knight was only in the Defenders for like 2 or 3 issues. It was like in the late 40s, 47, 48, 49, right in there. So, excuse me. So if this is supposed to be the current Defenders when this Treasury Edition was produced, then that's when it was produced, the late 40s. Somewhere concurrent with that, the new Defender. I always liked the Defenders, and I love this original lineup because it was oddball. You know, they really seemed like the outcasts almost. You know, the Hulk is the outcast because he's the Hulk. You know, he's the rampaging Hulk. Submariner's the outcast because he's the displaced Atlantean prince that wants revenge for his people. Doctor Strange is an outcast just because he's a weirdo. He's into the occult. He's a mystic. Limited Collector's Edition. Superman versus the Flash. Featuring Superman's race with the Flash. Race to the end of the universe. Some super speed extras. So yeah, this is actually part of the myth of Superman and the Flash and how they have this matchup of this contest of demigods, you know, between the two of them to see who's faster, the Flash or the Man of Steel. Oh, this is the super speed extras here. You have a breakdown of the Fortress of Solitude. Cool stuff. Here, Carmine Infantino gives a short tutorial on how to draw the Flash. Break down the head. You see him put the form of the body in there. All of his little after image lines. Race to the end of the universe. A lot of fun stuff. And of course, eventually they had to cross over. Battle of the Century. Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. Presented by Carmine Infantino and Stan Lee. I'm going to see how many different ways I can pronounce that. Written by Jerry Conway. Drawn by Ross Andrew. Very good job. Very fun book. I was thrilled the first time I discovered that, because I did not know it exists until I saw it in my buddy's pile. I was like, wow, is this real? Did they really have Superman and Spider-Man crossover? Of course, Star Wars. I always wanted these large oversized editions when I was younger, but I wasn't able to get them until the eBay era. And I managed to score both of these nice Treasury editions for a really good price. I mean, they were separate auctions and all, but you know, if you look around long enough for something specific, sometimes you can get lucky and you can catch it. I mean, there's just like some times of the day it seems like that people aren't bidding as much, and you can win a nice little bid without having to go through the entire war. Superman and Spider-Man, DC and Marvel present their second teaming. I was able to score this through an auction online for a pretty good price. The cover is a little bit beat up. The bend to it makes me think it was just in a stack of books somewhere. But the interior looks really good. Really happy at the price that I got this for. Love the John Buscema artwork through here. He's an interesting choice. It's strange seeing Superman in that Marvel Buscema style so early on here. Big fan of these crossovers. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for these kind of affirming super encounters. You know, the existence of Spider-Man and Wonder Woman on the page together gives weight to both of their universes. You know, it's not like either one is trying to discredit the other, but instead of saying, yeah, there's room for all of these heroes out here, and occasionally we can run into each other. Love that they put Doctor Doom in this. But anyway, I can't flip through these page by page because we will be here all day. Cool choice to include the Hulk and Wonder Woman in this, and throw the Parasite in as a nice villain. It's got to be somebody powerful enough, right? Okay, so that pretty much wraps up all of my Treasury Edition stuff. And I'll quickly show pieces of my later collection that could be considered Treasury. Okay. Of course, we have Big Guy and Rusty the Robot by Frank Miller and the great Jeff Darrow. Amazing Darrow artwork. Fools! This is straight out of the Stan Lee scripting book there. Gosh, look at this, the detail. So amazing. So amazing. Yep. It would be cool to come back and break some of these down at a later date. Big Guy and Rusty the Robot. And Barry Windsor Smith's return to collector size editions with his run on Storyteller. I absolutely loved this run. Loved his artwork. I loved it in this size and this format. I mean, the pages are vibrant. The color looks great. Yeah, the detail of his line. Just the precise line that he uses. It just pops through so well. He calls back to a lot of his experience on Conan for some of these. But anyway, there he is, the man himself, Barry Windsor Smith. And I had picked up this entire run It's a lot of fun. I mean, I would have kept buying them, honestly. I couldn't exactly tell you what the story was about, and I seem to remember there were maybe publishing issues, like some issues came out late or something to that effect. We're not doing a full breakdown on Storyteller, so I didn't research all that before this video. Just wanted to show you my nifty Treasury collection of books. And these will pretty much close it out. The only other one really being JLA Heaven's Ladder by Mark Waid and Brian Hitch. I think I bought this secondhand somewhere. I'm a big fan of Brian Hitch. His style is very reminiscent to Alan Davis to me. You know, other people might not see that, and maybe it's not so much anymore, but at least in the early days, it seemed very, very similar to Alan Davis. Like, he was a big influence on Hitch, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But this is a cool book as well. So anyway, there you go. There's a little look at my Treasury-sized editions. And that just gives me an opportunity to share my love of comics and sequential illustration and superheroes and all that good stuff with you. So thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. That means comment below. Tell your friends about the channel. You know, let me know what you like. Do you like Worldwide Weird? Do you prefer these Rarities episodes? What do you think of Comic Book Dojo, which is not going to go away? That's like a central feature of Comic-Jutsu. About what comics did you buy this week? If you have ideas for different types of segments, I don't know. Leave your suggestions below. I'll check them out and we'll see what we think. Till next time, mate!